Well, I just got briefed by Secretary Soule, Mike Soule, with Department of Environmental Protection, and good news front on the tar balls in the Keys. They have been tested by the Coast Guard in New Haven, Connecticut, and they are not from the Deepwater Horizon. So I think that's good news for Florida. Obviously, you know, this is an amazing situation that we're all dealing with, and you know, the potential of it to get into this, what they call the loop current. We've all sort of become mini experts on this stuff now. That potential exists, and it looks increasingly as though that is starting to happen. What that means is, you know, the flow can come around and go toward the Keys, the Florida Straits, and then up the East Coast in the Gulf Stream, and then back out toward Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. So that's a concern. We're monitoring it very closely, working with the Coast Guard, other federal agencies. I have another call this afternoon with the coastal governors and Valerie Jarrett with the White House. They've been very good about that. And, you know, I signed an executive order, it's been, you know, weeks ago now, declaring a state of emergency originally for the 6 counties in the Panhandle, then expanded that down through Sarasota County. And the recommendation I just got from Dave Halstead and Mike Soule is not yet to extend it to Monroe County, especially with the evidence that the tar balls are not from that situation in the Gulf. I think that's about the latest right now. When I signed the executive order, that gave us the opportunity to be able to utilize 2,500 National Guardsmen, should that become necessary, to help with boom and to protect our beaches and or cleanup. You know about the $25 million that BP granted to Florida in order to market nationwide about the fact that the beaches are as yet still clean, and the fish are biting, and the hotels are open, and the restaurants would like their business and tourism to continue.
Are we getting any? Is your office finding that we're starting to have that any effect in South Florida? Obviously, the Upper Panhandle was getting cancellations and people weren't coming, but is it coming down this way as far as people not taking vacations, or nothing has happened? Only
anecdotally, some, but I can tell you, not last weekend, but the weekend before, I was in the Panhandle both Saturday and Sunday, in Apalachicola Saturday and in Destin on that Sunday, and they were busy. Now, I know they've had some cancellations, and some of the charter boat fishermen in particular were concerned about the phone not ringing. But, you know, that was Mother's Day weekend, and it was very busy in Destin on that Sunday. The restaurants appeared to be pretty full, if not full. So that's good news. Now, that could have changed some in the interim, but I think it's going to be very helpful to be able to get the message out that, you know, so far those beaches up there are beautiful, untouched, and we hope and pray that that continues to be the case.
Back on oil spill, with NOAA actually confirming this morning that the spill's getting into the loop current and projecting that within 5 to 7 days we're going to see the impact in the Keys. I mean, what is the response, and how soon are you going to put it into place in terms of this, you know, the state response?
Right. Well, as I just said, I just spoke before I came here with Secretary Soule about that very issue. One of the things I'm contemplating is extending the executive order and the declaration of an emergency from Sarasota County down south through Monroe, and maybe even Dade. That's one thing that we're looking at. What would that do? That would involve our emergency management division much more acutely with each of the emergency management divisions of those respective counties. They sort of stand up, if you will, is sort of the language, lean forward, start, which they've already done, but continue to get more boom so that you have it to protect the most sensitive areas and estuaries first. And then, in addition to that, also talk to General Burnett at the Florida National Guard, make sure that the 2,500 are ready to be in place if necessary. One thing that Secretary Soule mentioned to me, though, on an encouraging side of, even though it may be entering the loop current, was that it may not, it would probably be, in his words, tar balls instead of a slick, which are more easily cleaned just by picking them up. frankly. And so if that's correct, it probably could be handled without too much difficulty. And plus, we would enlist volunteers. You know, I mean, Floridians love our state. And, you know, they already had great volunteer groups up in the Panhandle. I'm sure we could mass that down here in South Florida as well and in the Keys. The evidence of this situation is very clear. I mean, my understanding is that, you know, the rigs that are off in the North Sea or off the coast of Brazil, in addition to having this fail-safe cutoff that failed, also have a remote device that can trigger it if you have a failure. And it strikes me as inexcusable why this rig wouldn't have the same kind of remote device that is available in the North Sea and off the coast of Brazil. So, I mean, if an agency allows for permitting without requiring those kinds of extra backups to protect the Gulf states, then that agency, I don't think, is doing its job. I mean, you know, you look at the profits of some of these companies, and I believe in free enterprise, but it's pretty remarkable. It makes it easier for them to give us $25 million, a total of now 50, in order to help Florida and to market our state. So I'm grateful for that. But, you know, obviously more regulation is necessary because of what's happened in the Gulf.